Dear viewers, has this ever happened to you? You decide to watch a game conference, ready to digest some AAA and vaporware slop when suddenly, what is this? A cel-shaded hack and slash? Wait, is this Scottish Dynasty Warriors? You can walk and talk around towns? Holy cow, this looks so... Wait. Is that the map from Slay the Spire? Well, maybe it's just a normal map selection screen and oh god damn it, it's a roguelike. I hate those. Oh well, nothing to it, I will just move on to check out another game. Okay then, oh what is this? Tony Hawk Pro Skater, but you're a demon and you can kill demons while you do sick tricks? Damn, that's crazy and oh no. Why did the protagonist die in a very similar manner to Zagreus? Oh god damn it, it's another roguelike game. They already have a pretty unique idea. Tony Hawk plus Devil May Cry, that's a pretty good combo. Did they really need to add a roguelike to it? Fine. I suppose I'll go check out my Switch. I'm going to go play some Splatoon 3. I need to check out that DLC that came out a while back that looked really fun and oh, are you kidding me? It's a roguelike as well. On a AAA game too. I thought AAA hated that stuff, hated to take risks like that. Damn. Okay, I'm running out of patience here. You know what? We could do with a good card game. What could build more patience than a good old-fashioned deck building and oh my god, why did we let it get this bad? It has its own tag on Steam? Hey, listen, we need to talk about roguelikes and about how their production is out of control and it keeps getting worse. Or better, if you really like them, I guess. Today's indie landscape must feel like paradise if you like them, but seriously? Is this just confirmation bias or am I going crazy? Are there just too many goddamn roguelites these days? Well, that's the first step to solve this problem. We have to figure out if there is a problem in the first place, and yes, there is a problem and I can chart it with math. I can prove it with math. Okay, so Kirby, bring up the chart please.
Fire!
As you can clearly see, we can use some fancy charts to track down roguelite games released on Steam. By tracking down the tag year after year, we can see that the number of releases is quite stable until around 2019, when around 100 roguelikes per year were coming out, which is already a bountiful harvest, before it spiked to truly ridiculous proportions, with the most ridiculous jump being from 2022 to 2023. 2023 had almost double the amount of roguelikes released that 2022 had. This is ridiculous. It's time to admit we might have an oversupply problem going on here. Just so that we are clear about what we're talking about here, roguelikes are kind of games that are part of a subgenre of, game that were named after the old school 9080 dungeon crawler Rogue. Rogue was a hardcore RPG, and roguelikes were named after it, but it's important that I mention that there are two ways to refer to these games. Some people call them roguelikes, and others call them roguelites. A subtle but important difference because you see, Rogue was a fully fledged RPG, but its main legacy, the point that stuck throughout the years until it evolved in what we call a roguelike today, were two main gameplay mechanics. The first is permadeath. When a character dies, they die forever. There is no way to bring them back. You must restart the game from scratch. And the second is that the world is randomly generated, so every time you start a new run, the entire level design and item placement and enemy placement, everything is different. There are lots of games, from first-person shooters to hack and slashes, that carry the roguelike genre tag on them, but some people really hate that since they technically don't really use anything from Rogue except for the permadeath and the level remix. They are not even RPGs at all, so they prefer the term roguelite for games like those, but honestly, who cares? Roguelike is the most popular word for it, so it is what we're going to be using. For the sake of showcasing all of the information that I dug up here in a fair and plain and transparent way, Kirby is going to show a chart for roguelite games as well. As you can see, it's still a metric boatload of games. For comparison, we should also show the number of other genre tags on Steam. Kirby, pull up the chart on boomer shooters. I love them, they are one of my favorite niche genres. Pull all of the games that got tagged on Steam, and as you can see in here, there is an increase in boomer shooters as they got more popular recently, but the numbers just cannot compare to the full breadth of the roguelike nation. And you know what, let's pull up the chart. Kirby, pull me the chart of the eternal meme. Pull up the chart of the open world survival craft genre. Look at this. Even if you use the meme genre that people say is overrepresented, they cannot even scratch the surface of roguelikes. Now, I'm about to go full toxic for around the next 2 sentences. This is what I feel like when I wake up with hate in my heart and I'm really burning dislike for roguelikes. So if you want to call me a prick in the comments, hey, totally fair. I'm about to give you a ton of ammunition, but I just need to get this off my chest and see if anybody else feel like this, okay? I really dislike roguelikes for 2 reasons. The first one is deeply personal, and I don't expect everyone to relate. But I hate losing progress in a video game. Just absolute hate losing it. Not only saves, you know, when you lose a save, that is catastrophic, but I hate it when I'm defeated as well. I want to lose as little progress as possible on each death. I want to repeat as little as possible of the game to get back to where I was. I know this kind of design doesn't fit every game, especially genres like dungeon crawler, which are all about preparation and seeing how far you can get into the dungeon with your preparation. I know that. But ideally, if a game could quick save before each individual challenge, so the loss of my progress is measured in seconds, I would love that. This is why I love games like Super Meat Boy. They are incredibly hard, but I feel little frustration while playing them because progress is measured in seconds. If you die, you're back up right where you left off before you can even feel it. My second complaint though, I believe is something that more people can relate to. This is one that I believe that a lot more people can share it with me, in that sometimes I believe that the roguelike nature of a game is being used as a crutch by a developer that can't make a bigger game, so they try to stretch it out by making you repeat the same content as much as possible. If you believe in the goodness of humanity, we could say that this is a matter of necessity. The developer does not have the resources to make a long game, so he tries to make what little he can deliver last as long as possible. But if you're more cynical, you can quickly see how this could be used as an excuse for laziness. And I know laziness is kind of a loaded word here because making video games is a gigantic effort, I know that. So I don't know if it is the word that is best representative for it, but let's be real, haven't you ever played a game in which you felt like the developers did the bare minimum necessary to build a few levels and then decided to trap you into an endless hell of repetition? Maybe it's a mix of both. Maybe there's a third secret option for what they do this. Regardless, good intentions can only go so far. Always remember the road to hell is paved with them. And that creates this sense of repetition and boringness. Boringness? Is that a word? Yeah, it is. Thanks, Google. Anyway, it doesn't matter how good or bad you are at video games. Chances are you're going to take 10, 50, 100, or maybe even 1,000 runs before you manage to finish the game once. And as you slowly get better, you might even be able to get consistent victories, but always remember, the RNG is always there to trip you and send you back to the beginning of the game after a bad streak of luck, and you have to see the first area so many goddamn times. By the time you master the game, you have spent like 50% of your playtime at the starting area, and that drives me so mad. It's just so repetitive. This video might come as a surprise since I did give glowing recommendations to 2 roguelikes before, including Hades, and not even Hades is immune from this, as when I managed to finally finish a run, I discovered I had to finish it 9 more times to get the full story. For good or for bad, repetition is just drilled into the genre, it's just inherent to it. If any other game tried to pull this shit, it would get executed immediately. Also, I would like to interrupt the normal flow of the video to just say that as I was editing this video, I just remembered a third thing that I don't like about roguelikes, and that is the fact that procedural level generation is almost never as good as handcrafted level design. I would say probably simply never as good. I would go that far. And there are a lot of bad roguelikes that just feel like endless boring corridors with different themes. But I also want to say that that is not a trait exclusive to roguelikes. Plenty of top-down ARPGs do stuff like this in order to generate endless grind. But funny enough, The worst examples of it that come to mind right now are FPS games. Shadow Warrior 2 had the most disjointed, boring room layouts of any looter shooter I ever played, and We Happy Few had completely broken resource distribution at launch that made the game almost unplayable. So because this is a problem that is not exclusive to roguelikes, and in the interest of saving time, I won't go too deep into this topic except to say that 9 times out of 10, handcrafted levels are just better. But that's it, that's my toxic rant. Getting this off my chest feels really nice, but with all of that out of the way, I think it's important to clarify that all of that is just me being extra salty, okay? Roguelikes are not just repetitive, mediocre games made by lazy developers, tailor-made to addict us into wasting our precious hours on this earth, doing the same thing over and over again. Well, there might be some truth to that last bit, but it's important to acknowledge that with time, roguelikes created their own interesting design language that more than justify their existence and help explain the enjoyment they bring. Most roguelikes have meta progression. This means that as you do multiple runs, you get to carry benefits between runs. As time went on, these benefits became more straightforward, like being able to straight up just get more health or attack power on the next run, but at the beginning and even today, many of them only unlock new power-ups that you could potentially find during a run. And this might sound a little bit counterintuitive because I might find an upgrade on a run, and it is usually actually a side grade, not a straight up better upgrade. How is that progression? But that ties up with the larger objective of a roguelike, the larger theme, and that is that you could technically beat a roguelike on your first try if you were really lucky. Every run starts from the same place, and every run technically should end on the same place. Every run is a potential win, no matter how hard it might seem at first. The unlockable abilities are not meant to be straightforward upgrades, they are meant to mix things up to keep things interesting as you work towards your wins. And that is the joy of roguelikes. This is why in Hades there is a mirror where you can do some meta progression upgrades that straight up make you stronger, but you can also refund them at any time. And it's not just about easily respeccing your build, it's about being able to refund everything and going back to your base form and still being able to beat the game, because you don't need those upgrades to beat the game. And while this is true of a lot of games, you could theoretically do an Elden Ring run where you kill every boss with a stick that you found on the ground after all. Roguelikes are different because that is a challenge run that developers usually don't test, and in roguelikes, this is a core design principle. Being able to beat the game with a stick before you unlock stick 2 is a priority of design. It is the point of roguelikes. And it's important to note that even when there is straight up getting stronger meta progression, there is a clear design intent behind it. Take it for example Dead Cells. The developers released an update that removed the permadeath from the game if you wanted to, and gave it all sorts of difficulty modifiers. They released a Castlevania DLC, so naturally I bought it, and I turned off permadeath because I just don't like permadeath. Only to hit a sudden wall at the end of my first run when the final boss turned out to be super hard. I almost killed him multiple times, but I always ran out of health near the end of the fight, and it turns out that getting multiple heals is a part of the meta progression of the game. And had I played multiple runs, I could have eventually bought the heals and had an easier time against him, but I completely wrecked the game design by turning off permadeath. And that's a bit fun, for me at least. I will always respect developers that add options that allow you to blatantly mess with their game design, because when you do, you come to understand just how tightly designed they have to be this good. I still kept permadeath off though, because I would rather cut my right nut off than turn it back on. So if even I, a certified roguelike hater, can still find joy in roguelikes, and even greatly enjoy a few of them, why do I get so salty when I see a new roguelike getting announced? Well, to explain that, we have to unpack a common misunderstanding of what a roguelike is. So far, I have been deliberately misdirecting you by calling a roguelike a genre, but that's not what it is. It's not even technically a subgenre. No, a roguelike is a modifier that you can tack onto any game of any genre. You can make an FPS roguelike, a TPS roguelike, a top-down hack and slash, deck building, whatever you want to roguelike. And that's what disappoints me so much, because I will find out a new game, it has a cool trailer, it has an art style that I really enjoy, and it looks really fun, and then suddenly, bam, it's a roguelike. It's always a nasty surprise to find out at the end of a trailer, because it is not immediately obvious that a game is a roguelike. But it could be worse. It could be that after the trailer is over, when you go to wishlist the game, it is then that you find out that it is a roguelike on the store page. And all of this is made worse by the fact of how many games are getting this modifier applied to them every year. It's like walking into a minefield. This is why the number of roguelikes is simply ridiculous, because you can be an FPS and a roguelike, a TPS and a roguelike. Those games are pulling double duty, but even so, even with this information, I do not want you to take away this to mean that those numbers are normal because they are pulling double duty. No, 1,000 of games with that modifier every year is still crazy numbers, even though these games are part of technically 2 different genres, they have 2 tags on Steam, that still does not justify all of these roguelikes, 1,000 per year. That is just disliking roguelikes in 2024 is like loving candy bars, but hating peanuts in a world where 9 out of 10 candy bars every month have peanuts in them. And the sellers of some of them don't even have the courtesy of telling you there are peanuts until you read the fine print in the package. There you go, there is your food analogy. You are welcome. So, in the end, what can we do about it? Nothing really. I mean, roguelikes still sell like hotcakes, and a roguelike is by far the most popular indie game of the year. I'm talking about Balatro, of course. It is a great game, and I love it, in part because there is no level design, so I don't have to repeat the opening area gimmick 1,000 times. I just have to play cards and watch numbers go up, and I do love when numbers go up. But what I mean is, if people want to keep buying it, there's no need to stop doing it. You know, it's not illegal or immoral, it's not overly pricey DLC, it's not predatory season passes, it's just video games. And if people want to buy that, that's completely fine. But if you are a developer and you still want some advice from a hater like me, seriously, you do? Okay, if you are a developer and you want some advice, my advice would be to consider if your game really needs to be a roguelike, and if you're making full use of the design philosophy that has been tried and tested by your predecessors, or if you're just being tempted into jumping on the bandwagon because roguelikes are popular, or worse, if you're afraid people will think your game is too short and you're trying to stretch out something that doesn't need to be stretched out. Of course, you have to make sure that the game is over 2 hours long, so losers on Steam won't refund it after beating it, but other than that, you will be fine. There's a big audience for short games. Just look at the fans of Mouthwashing, which is a great short horror indie game that I also recommend if you haven't played that. It's really good. You just consider all of that, okay? Because always remember that the downside of so many roguelikes being released is that most of them end up being mediocre and forgotten. Think about it. Have you really heard the names of 1,000 or even 100 of the roguelikes that were released in 2023? But oh well. Like I just said, this is probably not that big of a deal. People want to buy roguelikes, so people make roguelikes, and that's just life. And hey, sometimes you can even find more traditional, let us say, equivalents of what you want to play that isn't a roguelike. For example, if you want to play a Tony Hawk game with combat, you can try out Rollerdrome instead. It's still pretty hardcore, but it has a traditional level select screen. Level select. Just like how they used to make them. Just, be careful when buying it because the developers aren't getting a single cent out of it anymore, which is very sad. But it's still a pretty good game that I think we should appreciate. I just want my viewers to know that there is more to discuss here as well. We didn't touch upon bullet heavens like Vampire Survivors and how technically they are roguelikes, but they don't feel as much like that because of their really strong emphasis on meta progression. That's a very interesting topic, but it's a bit too big for a video like this. And more important than that, I want everybody to make sure that In this video, I have no intention of saying something stupid like that roguelikes are objectively bad or to offend any developers or players of roguelikes. I'm sure you're all wonderful people. And I want you to know that at the end of the day, we are all in this together because let's be real for a second. I bought almost every single game in this video and I'm going to keep buying them anyway. So, choice is a lie. We are all addicts trying to get in our next hit, and the numbers just keep going up. Kirby, take us out of our misery.